Welcome back to another episode of The Worthy Woman. If you are watching this on YouTube, the video might be a little shaky because I am holding the camera myself. But I wanted to do a podcast episode on this, and it's been something that I have been noticing a lot in my life and with people in my life. And that is fear. Fear is, if you can overcome fear, you can create anything that you want in your life. And when it comes to business and our money, this is a huge, huge piece. I have had a lot of people in my life where as I have conversations with them and I see them, I'm seeing how much fear is holding them back. And it does for all of us, right? Like I've obviously been in this situation. Most of you have probably been in this situation. But what I have seen and what I have been noticing is that people want things in their life. They want things in their business. They want a lifestyle. They want to make a certain amount of money. They have a lot of things that maybe they want or they are desiring. And fear is getting in the way of even making those things remotely a reality, right? If you are unable or unwilling, could be a little bit of both, to do what you need to do to overcome fear, you will find that you are not going to change. You're not going to change. You're not going to grow. You're not going to get the thing that you're actually even looking for either. Now, this can be a journey. Sometimes this takes years even for us to work through fear and to overcome it and to finally get to that point where we're like, fuck it, I'm just going to go for it. But there are things that you can actually do for yourself. There are things you can actually do to change your situation, to help your situation. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So with what I'm seeing is that a lot of people, what happens is this fear, like I said, gets in the way. So there's either two things going on or both. Like it could be two things, two separate things, but it also could be two things. Sorry, I'm just like changing this around. Trying to find a good hand position for myself. There's two things that are possibly impacting you. Okay, if you're dealing with fear and it's getting in the way of your growth, your business growth, making big decisions, bold moves in your business, or bold moves even with your financial reality, maybe that is kind of both, right? Like your big moves in your business could make you more money, right? Two things could possibly be going on. One, you are in a nervous system state of survival mode where you are finding yourself, like money is such a huge piece to you that it's scary to make a decision because what if you lose it all, right? What if it doesn't work? What if everything falls apart? What if not only does it not work, but it ruins what I currently have, right? What I have and what I currently have is maybe working to a certain extent. And so I don't want to ruin that. And the other place that you could be in and or dealing with is that you're dealing with fears, you're dealing with stories, you're dealing with internal things that your brain and your body are freaking out where it's like, well, we can't do that because that's not safe, right? So we are creating stories and ideas in our mind that are not necessarily true, right? Because it's usually like a preconceived. It's like, oh, the fear of what could happen, right? It's not necessarily a reality. And so you're either in one of those boats or both of those boats, okay? If you're not so much strapped from a financial perspective, you could still be fearing the losing the money piece, which could tap into a survival piece. But it could be a lot more of like the stories and the things in going on in the background that are actually holding you back. Now, in my life, I have been, like I said, seeing this within other people and seeing how they could create so many beautiful things for themselves if they were just willing to work through the fear and had the skills and the capacity to create that change, right? Having a nervous system capacity and working on your subconscious mind, those are skills that you learn over time. And it's also a willingness to change those narratives, right? A lot of times, my hand is so shaky right now. A lot of times we are in this place where we are, even the stories keeping us from even doing the work because it's like, oh, well, I don't want to change because that change is scary. Okay, so even if the change is better for you, sometimes the change is just scary and your brain is like, no, 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 we can't let go of these protective patterns. So I've been seeing that. Then I've been making a lot of big moves in my own life, and I'm excited to eventually announce something, but it's still in the works, so I can't do that yet. But I've been working on some stuff, and it's interesting because I was talking to another business owner about some of the moves that I'm looking to make in my business, and I thought it was interesting because when I had told him about it, because I was looking for his advice and like kind of some contacts and stuff that he might have for a certain aspect of it. And one of his first questions when he found out what I was doing was like, oh, well, like, what are your clients going to think of that? In the sense of like, are they going to continue to work with you basically if you do that thing? And I thought that's so interesting. Because it is a thought that I had myself, but at the same time, I was like, this move that I'm looking to make aligns with me. Like the thing itself, the transition itself aligns with me so much of what I really want out of my business and my life that I was like, that kind of outweighs whether people choose to continue to work with me or not. And I love my clients and I want them all to continue to obviously work with me, but it was an interesting perspective because I was like, oh, this is him putting his own fears, first of all, onto me. But the other part of it is that like this risk versus reward when it comes to business. Risk is always fear, right? Risk is always like basically looking at, okay, if I do this thing, what are the possibilities that could go wrong? Okay. Then you look at the reward. Well, what could go right? Right? Like it's like the pros and cons. So what could go right? And do those risks outweigh the reward, or does the reward outweigh the risk? In my situation, the reward outweighs the risk in some way, shape, or form because I see potential where I could still grow. It's not like it would limit me and then also not allow me to grow, right? That's a totally different situation. But in this situation, I see so much potential and I see a lifestyle and a business that I would love to be able to grow. So it's just interesting, and this is with him not knowing me enough to know what I really have always wanted and what I've been desiring to have. And so it's interesting because for him, fear would be getting in the way and potentially coming up, and I could easily take on that narrative. I could easily create that story, but I know that I have enough faith and trust in myself to make this a reality for me without succumbing to the fear and not going for it anyway. So when we talk about fear and we talk about moving through fear, and the big question is always like, well, how do I do that, right? This isn't something I learned overnight. This is something that I had to learn to trust myself with. And you learn it a little bit by making like small, big decisions in the sense that like, this feels a little scary, but I'm going to do it. And when you do it and it works out, you have more trust in yourself. You have more faith that you can make it work. You can make things happen. Okay. So you do have to be willing to work through it. Now, how do you do that though? In the moments where fear is coming up, we have to understand ourselves. We have to slow down. We have to pull back and we have to reflect. Why is this coming up? What am I really afraid of? Is this even a real thing to be fearful of? Do I have things in place, systems in place that could help me get through this if this is like a little bit of a rocky start? The things that are going to help you get through this are, nervous system tools. They're going to be working on your beliefs. They're also going to be catching yourself in the moment of when fear is coming up to be like, okay, this isn't real. This isn't proven that this is even going to happen. This is just me afraid of what could happen. And so when you have the ability to slow down and take a step back, you have the ability to look at like, okay, yes, this is scary. Yes, there's some risk here, but also there's a lot of reward that's possible. And just as much of the reward is possible, just as much as the failure is possible, right? And sometimes even, like sometimes they're not 50-50, right? Like sometimes the reward does still outweigh the risk. And so there's having to work through the fear as it's coming up real time, which comes through tools, resources, and being able to reflect and being able to sit back. Now, having people in your corner is also helpful. Like having people you can talk to about this, having people that you can discuss these different changes and things that you're trying to make are going to be helpful for you to navigate this, to kind of like sometimes, talk you off the ledge, so to speak, when it comes to if you're being realistic or not. And I question the realistic piece. But you have to be able to trust yourself is probably the biggest, because at the end of the day, it's you making the decision, especially in your business. And you have to trust that even if it maybe doesn't go 100% the way you're hoping it does to make it work out, that you can make it work out, that you can do the things, make the changes, and trust that, you know what, if this doesn't work, then I'll do this. If this doesn't work, then I'll do that. Like always being able to pivot and always being able to transition. And again, being able to stay calm, pivot, make transitions, that comes with nervous system capacity. You have to have the capacity to make these decisions, work through the fear, and pivot whenever you need. And this is, I think, where a lot of people get so stuck, because they are trying to implement strategy and do all these things. And at the end of the day, their nervous system is not equipped for making those changes, to implementing the new strategies, to hiring people to help them, create this desired result. They're not in a space where they have the capacity to handle it. And so they either just don't do it all together and fear gets in the way, or they kind of step into it and then they retreat and they pull back. So if you're dealing with fear in your business and you know that it is holding you back, or fear even with your money, right? These things are usually like kind of intertwined, right? And obviously I work with people in business, and I work with women in business. But if these are things that you are struggling with, I really want you to seriously take a look at what are the stories that are coming up, and how often is fear showing up where you feel very dysregulated, you feel very anxious, you feel very worried, you're constantly overthinking, you're panicking, you're like trying to make all the plans, you're trying to like control the outcome. Those are all things that are saying that you're not trusting the journey, you're not relaxed, you're not regulated, and your capacity is probably not as wide or as big as you think it is. The decision that I'm looking to make, I don't necessarily know how the money is going to come through. I don't necessarily know how I'm going to find the right people. I don't know when it's even going to start. Like there's a lot of unknowns with this journey. And I just have trust and faith that somehow it's going to work out and somehow it's going to come together and I'm going to make it happen, because I'm determined to make it happen. And I see a vision with what it is that I'm trying to create. And I love, in my mind's eye, I can see what this creates and I love what it creates. And so that to me is so much more worth it than staying where I'm at right now. And I now have to have these tools and this nervous system capacity to be able to handle these changes and to move through these shifts that I'm going to be making. And fear is real. Like fear is 100%, again, it's what keeps a lot of us limited. It's what keeps us held back. And if you're tired of having fear hold you back, I can almost guarantee you a new strategy, new content strategy, a new business coach isn't necessarily going to fix your problem if you're not looking at your internal environment, your internal world, your body, because it holds all of what you're feeling. And again, even the ability to move forward with things. So if you want support in this, if you want help with this, this is what I do. This is what I help women in business do. I do have my coaching, Magnetic Money, which is a combination of obviously money, trying to get money, but it's your business too. It's everything, right? And so we are looking at the nervous system, the subconscious mind, which are the stories that we tell ourselves, the beliefs that we have that are maybe not supportive for where we're trying to go, and our energy, okay? Because I implement my Reiki healing into my coaching. And so I combine all of these things to help you get the physical and energetic and mental shifts that you need to make to actually manifest and create the life that you're trying to make. So I am opening that. We're starting that in September 8th. And I also have, if you're new to this work and you don't know like what this work does or what it's like, how it benefits you, that sort of thing, and if it's something for you, I did a workshop a couple weeks ago, and an in-person workshop, and I have recorded it. And so you can actually get part 1 for free, which talks about your nervous system, the subconscious mind, and your energy, and how that's influencing your business, as well as there's some like journal prompts and things like that that are also included in there for you to kind of start this process. If you want to continue with that, where we talk about your vision and your blocks and how to clear your blocks, and then there's some tools and regulation practices and a Reiki healing clearing that is in there as well. You can choose to unlock that, which is a paid portion, but the first part is absolutely free. And it'll be a great starting point for you to understand even what you're even trying to do with this work and how it can actually change your life and your business. So if you're interested in that, that is the Money and Energy Workshop, which is the part 1 that you get free access to. So the link for that will also be down below. You can also just reach out to me on Instagram if you have any questions about this. If you're not following me on Instagram, I highly suggest you do, because I post a lot of things over there, and a lot more than I can on a podcast or YouTube, for example. So just different kind of content. Some things overlap, obviously, but for the most part, you'll get some different stuff. So I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any questions around fear and how to move through it, definitely reach out to me. Leave a comment down below if you're on YouTube. And I'd love to know either how fear is showing up for you, if you've recognized that, or again, if you have questions, I would love to be able to, answer and help you out with those. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for being here. I'm excited to keep giving you these podcast episodes, so hopefully they're helpful. If you have any other topics of things that you want to know about, again, shoot those over to me somehow, either on Instagram or even in the comment section below as well. But I hope you guys have a wonderful day whenever you're listening to this, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.